is a well-lived life? Is it travelling the world? Is it having a family? Is it making lots of money? Is it awards? What if it's none of these things? What if a life well lived is a lot more to do with how you leave somebody feeling than the successes you've had in life? I always thought it was about success, and I had the proof. I was travelling the world with my twin sons, and it was amazing. And I remember the exact moment that I thought to myself, this is the life that I've always dreamed of. But something still didn't feel quite fulfilled. I was taking my friends on super yachts around Greece. I was flying in private jets. And yet, I knew deep down, under the surface, why I was chasing it. I was born into poverty in a council house in Lincolnshire to a single parent. It was actually my dad, an economic immigrant from Malta, that brought us up. And he had to work day and night just to be able to feed us. I remember him calling us from his factory job at 6 o'clock in the morning just to tell us that we needed to get up for school. I didn't know I was poor. I was happy until the age of 11, when I got a scholarship to a private school. I was that kid with the second-hand uniform and the free school meals. And so right from day one, I was bullied simply for being poor. And something happens when you're bullied. Every day when you're told you're nothing and you will never become anything, you get this deep desire inside you to prove people wrong. And so I left school at the age of 16 with no qualifications, and I clawed my way up a corporate ladder from an office junior on £35 a week, right the way to working as a risk analyst in an investment bank in Canary Wharf. And I was doing okay, as if every hard day, every promotion was just me showing those people, look, you were wrong about me. But life was about to take on a different trajectory. I was 36, I was pregnant with twins, and I knew I was going to divorce their dad. A year later, I was a single parent of 1-year-old twins, and I had to start completely from scratch. Go back 15 years, because I couldn't work in Canary Wharf, where the hours are 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. I couldn't do that and still see the twins. And so I looked for a job closer to home, and the only things that were going were office junior jobs. And so there I was on 20,000 a year again, like going back 15 years. But I could see the twins before and after school. The main problem here was that, like a lot of women, my salary was now less than the childcare bill. Yeah, you're nodding away. And the problem with that is that I was never going to be able to make ends meet. I'd been in generational poverty, so I knew what that felt like. So I decided to start a business. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't even know anyone that had a business. But I thought, I'll become a wedding planner. I'm pretty organised. I've watched a ton of J-Lo films, and I really like cake, and therefore it's got to be the job. And so I did. And a year later, when I sat down to see if I could leave my job and spend more time with the twins, I realised I was making £1.15 an hour. And so then I had to make a decision, either learn about business properly or just live paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth, as generations of my family have done before, and always be in debt. I decided to go and learn. And so I went to the library because I didn't have any kind of money for courses. And I learned. I got out every business book, every self-development book. And a year later, I had turned that business around to making a profit. And then people started asking me, how have you done this? And so for the next couple of years, I started telling them all the things I'd learned about in those books. And it turned out I had a bit of a knack for teaching business, but without the jargon. Because business isn't actually complicated. People make it complicated. And so I carried on, and eventually I started, because I realised this was a business, teaching people how to make businesses in itself. And that was 9 years ago. What happened next blew my mind. I went from not being able to feed the children to making over 20 million in just 6 years. Forbes wrote a 4-page article on me, I got book deals from HarperCollins and Hachette. When I wrote the book, it became a Sunday Times bestseller. And people started asking me to speak on stages all around the world. It blew my mind. And that was how I began living this amazing life, jetting around the world with the twins. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But inside, I still wasn't feeling fulfilled. But everything was about to change. It was 2021, and we were just coming out of the lockdowns, and I was really looking forward to seeing my best friend, Paulie. We'd been friends for decades. He was amazing. The smart friend, the funny one, the loyal one. And I hadn't seen him for 6 months because of the pandemic. But when I opened the door to him, my face fell. He'd always been a big guy, but he stood there, really thin, really skeletal, and withdrawn. I tried to hide it. I didn't want to scare him. Mainly, I didn't want to make it real. I spent the evening chatting to him, trying to find out what was going on. He said that he thought he had Crohn's disease and that he realised he'd lost a little bit of weight. He obviously didn't know how he looked, and he definitely didn't know how ill he was, but I knew. 15 months later, he was dead. He'd died from stage 4 bowel cancer, simply because he wasn't able to go and see a doctor during the pandemic. He asked me if I could plan his funeral before he died, and I said yes. And during the funeral, people kept saying the same thing. He lived such a well-lived life, they'd say. Did he? I thought. He was the friend we took the mickey out of. He was the one that was always single. He didn't have a job that he liked. He wanted to travel the world, but didn't get to all the places he wanted to. How did he have a well-lived life? So I asked, what makes you say that? And they said the same thing over and over again. Because everybody that came into contact with him left feeling better than they had before. Now, this was true. He was that friend. You'd never go on a night out with Paulie, or a day out for that matter, and not come back feeling great. If you had problems, well, I'd always go to him and ask. He wouldn't always know the answers, but he'd try and help me find the answers within myself. He was just that good friend. But was that a life well lived? I mean, we'd gone on different trajectories in our friendship. He'd never judged me. I'd never made him feel small. But I had changed my whole life. Wasn't that a life well lived? Wasn't going from debt to millions? Wasn't travelling the world? Wasn't having the twins? Weren't these things that are a life well lived? It niggled at me for the next few weeks until I decided I need to prove this. I'm going to do a quest and find out if it's true. For the next year, I'm going to do something once a week for somebody that leaves them in a better state than before they met me. I'll do it anonymously and I'll document it. Now, I want to make something clear. This wasn't some kind of hero thing. I had no desire to pay it forward. I just wanted to see if this truth about what a well-lived life was that I'd seen at Paulie's funeral was actually true. And so I went looking for people to help. Social media has all the people you could ever need that need help. And so I went looking, and they weren't always financial things. Some things were just little, like complimenting someone on their outfit one week, or sitting with somebody on a park bench that looked as if they needed a friend. Week after week, the same thing happened. It wasn't about the size of the thing that I did that mattered. It was about the shift that people were feeling. And I was feeling that shift inside me too. Other things were bigger. There was one woman that was on Facebook. She was talking about how she wanted to have her husband's baby, but her husband had died of cancer. They had frozen his sperm to be able to have his baby, as they'd both agreed. But when she went to the NHS, the doctors said that she was 4 days over her 40th birthday, and so they couldn't help her. She wasn't going to be able to afford to do this privately. It felt like it had landed in my lap. Surely this is exactly the kind of thing that I need to be helping people with. And so I did. I paid for her IVF, and she now has a 2-year-old who's amazing. Other things were darker. Other things were darker, though. There was a guy who was on social media talking about how he didn't want to be here anymore. I'd been through that in my 20s. I knew how dark that could get. And so I just messaged him and asked if I could speak to him. And we ended up talking for a few hours into the night. just until he said that he felt brave enough to live another day. Some things were about business. I had a woman that had really wanted to work with me for some time. She'd done all of my free stuff, but she was a single parent like I had been. And so I said to her, I'll help you for a whole year for free. After that year, she said I'd completely changed her life. All she'd needed was a chance. Some things were more fun. I opened up my home on Boxing Day for anybody that didn't have anyone else to be around on Christmas. And loads of people came and we had such a good time. But afterwards, people wrote to me and they said that what was normally the darkest part of their year became really fun for them. And that's what it was about. Week after week, I continued doing these things. And at the end of the year, I realised that I'd done this experiment so that people could be left in a better state than before they'd found me. But what actually happened was I was feeling in a better state than before I met them. For the first time, I was actually feeling fulfilled. And so, what is a life well lived? Is it making lots of money? Is it travelling the world? Is it having a family? Is it success? All of those things are brilliant, and I'm not telling you not to go for them. They've really changed my life. But a life well lived isn't that. It's much simpler. It's simply to leave people in a better state than before you found them. And it's repeatable. So I invite you to do this quest with me. It doesn't have to cost you anything. It could be one message that makes somebody feel seen or heard. One thing that brightens somebody's day. One moment that changes everything for somebody else but didn't take you any time at all. One message, one thing, one moment, once a week. And then you'll see what it really feels like to live a life well lived. Thank you.